Everyone is nervous and scared at big TV networks.
As long as they've got a good heart and they've got compassion, that's all you need to get by, I think, in this day and age. My goal in life is to be a TV news presenter, and I feel, I just feel so much more happier in myself, and, you've just empowered myself so much.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Which course were you in?
It was a podcast course I went on, and also it was for the news reporter anchor.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you got a lot of value out of it. You don't have to worry about some executive saying, TJ's getting a little too wrinkled. Let's kick him out on the street. You don't have to worry about that.
That's
Elaine.
Brilliant. Though, I went and spoke when I shouldn't have spoke. I want to kind of come across as confident as you come across.
People ask me if I get nervous before doing interviews or being interviewed, whether it's CNN or BBC, or talking to folks like you.
Hi, TJ. I just want to say thank you so much for the training you have given myself. My goal in life is to be a TV news presenter, but the course I went on was absolutely amazing. It's just given myself so much confidence, and I feel, I just feel so much more happier in myself, and, you've just empowered myself so much.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Which course were you in?
It was a podcast course I went on, and also it was for the news reporter anchor.
Okay. And what position are you applying for right now that you're hoping to be the host for?
Well, right now I am applying for, it's a news presenter role for ITV. So in the past, I've always loved doing podcasts. I've always liked interacting with people. I have been out in the media quite a lot through the book that I've done. I've done a book called I Believe in Angels, and I dedicated it to my late husband. So I just felt I needed more training, and I needed, educating just that step further. And when I saw your course, it was a perfect course for myself.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you got a lot of value out of it. I'm always trying to make things better. So one of the things I've added recently to all the courses is the video and audio AI coach, an actual clone that can coach people. So rather than me just talking about what I want for the course, it allows you to be responsive, or the clone to be responsive to you. If you don't mind, I'll just do a little demonstration. Let's see if we can get some added value to you and what you do. We'll just do a little simulation here. I'm going to pull up my video clone, and we'll see if it can give you some help. So we're going to call my TJ Walker AI clone, see if it can give you some practical advice.
Hola, soy el clon de Lloyd. ¿Cómo puedo ayudarte a comunicarte de manera más?
And I did the Spanish version. It does now speak in multiple languages, but since I don't speak Spanish, we're going to stick to the English. So this will be the English version of the video clone.
Right.
To see if it can give some specific help.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more effectively? Do you have an upcoming presentation or media interview you'd like to rehearse?
Hi, TJ. My name is Elaine, and I'm trying out to be the lead presenter for a major news program on ITV in Great Britain. What advice do you have for me to really show more poise, more polish? Because there is a big difference between being the anchor and the lead presenter versus merely a good guest. Give me your tips on how to be a great host and presenter.
To be a great host and presenter, focus on 3 key areas: preparation, engagement, and adaptability. First, prepare thoroughly by knowing your content inside out and anticipating potential questions. This builds confidence and allows you to handle unexpected situations smoothly. Second, engage your audience by making eye contact, using expressive body language, and varying your vocal tone to maintain interest. Lastly, be adaptable. If something goes off script, stay calm and adjust your approach to keep the flow going. Practice these skills on video until you're satisfied with your delivery. What specific aspect of hosting or presenting do you find most challenging?
So we can go on in a lot of different ways. So that's one of the things I'm very excited about with the clone. Now, here's the other thing,
That's
Elaine.
brilliant. Do you know, though, I went and spoke when I shouldn't have spoke.
Oh, no, that's okay. It's supposed to stop, listen to you, and I think it didn't quite hear it. So here's something else the clone does. I'm going to, if you don't mind me showing you one more time, that I think it's fairly interesting, because it can give me feedback on what I'm actually wearing too. So that's kind of interesting as well.
Hi, I'm TJ's clone. How may I help you communicate more
Hi,
effectively?
TJ.
Do you have
Yes, I've got a question. I am trying to get ready for my my tryout as a host on ITV. I'll be doing it from my home studio. Just wondering if you can give feedback on my set design, my clothes. What do you see me wearing? What do you think of my set? What do you think of my lighting? And is there anything distracting with my lighting?
Your set has a modern and professional vibe, which is great for a home studio. The colorful lighting adds a dynamic touch, but the blue and green hues might be a bit overpowering. Consider softening them to ensure they don't distract from your presentation. The camera setup looks solid, but make sure the lighting on your face is even to avoid shadows. How do you feel about the overall ambiance it creates for your audience?
It's not exactly right. I think you've touched on some right points. What do you think about what I'm wearing?
Your suit looks sharp and professional, which is perfect for a host tryout. The classic style conveys authority and confidence.
Okay, so you could see it's giving me real-time feedback. That it's not simply giving me a generic loop. Now, for my clone, it was pulling from a side angle from a laptop. So it was, in fact, looking at the lights from a weird angle. And it correctly picked out the point that the light was too bright from that angle, because I didn't build my set to be looked at from that particular camera angle. So that's part of what I find fascinating by it. Elaine, what did you think?
I found it really fascinating, and I absolutely love ChatGPT. I'm a biggest fan of ChatGPT. And then, to me personally, I do think AI will take over eventually. It's just so good, and you can just do so many things with AI. And, you know, even like if I've ever done an article, I'll just get a few ideas from using ChatGPT. And I just think it's amazing. It just educates us so much. And just so we know how to word things, how we put things across. And I just think it's the future. AI, to me personally, is the future. And I just love the way you've done all these clones. It looks so realistic. You'd think that was you, not the actual robot, when you're looking at it, and you think, wow.
Well, I mean, it essentially is me as much as what you're seeing right now, because what you're looking at on screen isn't really me. It's just a digitized version in pixels of me. That's what we were watching a moment ago. I agree with you, AI is the future, but what I think a lot of people don't quite realize is AI is the present as well, because it's not like I am the head of some multi-billion-dollar corporation and this is all, you know, test stuff that consumers won't see for another 18 months. I'm just a consumer of a platform. This is relatively inexpensive. I'm using a consumer platform called Delphi.ai. Now, here's something that I grew up thinking was the future. I grew up watching Star Trek from the 1960s version. I didn't watch it till the 70s, where they had something called the universal communicator. In the 23rd century, it could convert any language to any other language. Well, it turns out we don't have to wait for the 23rd century. It's already out. Now, I accidentally played a little clip of it for you earlier, but here is my audio clone. And I can go up here to the top right corner. I mean, you're a sophisticated European, Elaine. You probably speak French and Italian and 10 other languages, but I'm just a dumb, ugly American. I'm the ugly American. I only speak English. So my clone now allows me to speak to people in all of these languages: Arabic, Bulgarian, Chinese, Danish. Tamil, I don't even know what that is, Vietnamese, you name it. So since I know just a couple of words of Spanish, we will try that one just as a test. And it's going to identify itself as a clone, as I
Right.
recommend.
Hola, soy el clon de TJ. ¿Cómo puedo ayudarte a comunicarte de manera más efectiva? ¿Tienes una presentación o entrevista de medios próxima que te gustaría ensayar?
Hola, señor TJ. Mi problema es no tengo confidencial. ¿Por qué?
La falta de confianza puede deberse a varios factores. A menudo se trata de la falta de práctica y exposición. Te recomiendo grabarte en video mientras hablas sobre un tema que te apasione o luego observa el video y toma nota de lo que te gusta y lo que no. Practica hasta que te sientas cómodo con tu presentación. ¿Hay algún tema específico sobre el que te gustaría practicar?
So I don't really know what it's saying because, again, full disclosure, I don't really speak Spanish other than a couple of words. But the one thing I know with absolute certainty, what that clone just did was 1,000 times better than what I would do myself.
That's
So,
brilliant. You come
because
across
I only speak a few words. So that to me is what's so exciting, is that now someone can learn from my expertise without having to filter things through another language. If English is their first, second, or third, or fifth, or maybe they don't speak English at all, it doesn't matter. And I might not speak their language, but we can still communicate. So this has happened just in the last couple of weeks. And again, science fiction authors thought this wouldn't happen until the 23rd century, and it's happening. It has already happened right now. What I'm doing is from a consumer grade platform. I use a platform called Delphi.ai. They even have a version for people who want to start out for free. I'm not a spokesperson for them, but you can try it out. I have all of mine housed at my website, tjwalker.ai. So if you want to try mine out more or ask it questions or even do a practice interview, you can do so. But I think anyone who deals in the realm of ideas, whether you are a speaker, a trainer, a consultant, a professional speaker, a management consultant, anyone, a portfolio manager, a startup founder, someone in charge of sales or customer service, people who have to talk all day long and share expertise, they're going to want a digital clone because it can scale you and make you available for one-on-one style conversations with anyone in the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, any language. While we are doing this show right now, my clone is talking to other people in different countries right
that's
now.
amazing.
And I don't have to be physically in two places at once or having two conversations at once. I can focus on you, Elaine, while my clone talks to other people. So that's really why I'm so excited about it.
It's just
Elaine,
tell
me more about your world, and if there's any other way you think either I can help or my clone can help.
You can help, oh gosh, tremendously with the courses that you actually do. And look where you are now on your journey. You've done absolutely amazing. You know, you've actually been a TV presenter yourself, and with your history, you've done really well. So tell me about, how did you very first get into the TV industry?
I won a contest. It was 1975. And I won a look-alike contest for a well-known American sitcom star called Fonzie from a show called Happy Days. And he had thick black hair, and I had thick black hair back then, greased back like a character from the 50s. And the reward was I got to do the newscast for my junior high school the next day, the 7th grade newscast. And that was kind of my first time on camera. And I liked it. And then I started getting involved in student government, student politics, and speaking a lot. Everything I've ever done since then is some combination of speaking to live audiences, speaking to the media, helping people with politics or business. So it's all sort of started from there. How did you get started?
I just mainly got started really through doing my book. And when I'd kind of done my book, it was like my book on my enlightenment, and I dedicated it to my late husband who passed away 5 years ago. But I've always liked to put a negative situation into a positive situation. So through getting in touch with yourself, it's been really good, because for me personally, I feel like we can bounce off one another. You know, you're giving me information and I'm giving you information back. And it's just, I think it's crazy how the universe works, because I know I wanted you to come on my podcast and then you wanted me to come on your podcast. So we're kind of both interviewing one another. So this is kind of like thrown me thinking, wow, I've never had this before. But it's just kind of resonated with myself. You know, I've just learned so much from yourself. And to me, it's just a nice, relaxed podcast, because I'm only just starting out doing my own podcasts. And my own podcast is going to be called, it's Lloyd's Worldwide Podcast, but that is down to you. If it wasn't for your course, I wouldn't be sat in this chair today.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it had a positive impact on you. Big question I have. If this were 40 years ago, 30 years ago, even 12 years ago, I could understand wanting to have the goal of being a presenter on ITV. I'm a little confused, and I'm not saying there's anything bad about it. I'm a little confused in this day and age, because increasingly we see people like Piers Morgan in your country leaving traditional broadcast media because they figure, I can make more money, have more fun, have more freedom just being on YouTube and social media and Twitter. And here in the United States, we have people like Joe Rogan, who used to work for big TV networks, start podcasting, grow an audience, and they're having more fun, making more money, reaching more people than they ever would have in a traditional media environment. So my question, why do you even want to be a part of a big bureaucratic organization, and nothing against ITV, when you could just build your own audio podcast, video podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn, Spot? There's so many distribution methods now.
I agree 100% with you there. You're spot on there. But it goes back to my childhood. When I was a child, I used to always say to my parents, I want to be a TV presenter when I'm older, and this is my goal in life. And I think it's only now, when I've kind of got to 52 years old, I'm thinking, I want to kind of do it before I'm too old. And, you know, age is just a number. You're never too old. And my late mother, God bless her, she used to always say, you can do absolutely anything, Elaine, if you put your mind to it. And it was kind of my mum who kind of inspired me to do my book. And I've launched my own perfume, and I've kind of done everything I've wanted to do in my life. And then I keep thinking at the back of my mind, I used to always, you know, I've always said about being a TV presenter, and I've not kind of carried that out. Another one I used to always say, I want to have my own car showroom, Lloyd's car showroom. But now I'm thinking I should have done that way years ago. I should have set up doing my own car showroom. So I was kind of going on the road of, do I do a car salesperson to kind of get me on that path again? But now at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, come on, Elaine, there's so many creativity going on in my brain. Sometimes I think you've just got to think of one idea, one goal, and focus on that one thing, because otherwise you can just get involved in so many things. And my brain, I feel I'm a bit like yourself. Our creativity, we just go on and on and on. And I don't know if you feel like me at times. Your brain never stops, and you're just thinking of the next thing to do. And sometimes you think, you know, just sit back and relax. But with me, I can wake up early hours and I can just start writing, and I'll be writing a song, and I just never stop. But I think when you're just so creative, that's how our brains work.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a big fan of being creative, and being creative at any age, and not just telling yourself, oh, that's it, I can't do that anymore. So I'm totally on board with that. And I wish I were as young as you. I'm going to be 62 this year, but I'm constantly trying to reinvent myself. I'm trying to reinvent myself all the time, doing new things. And in fact, I'll just share with you, I mean, just today, I published a new book, Building an Interactive AI Video Clone.
Oh,
And it's a new
fantastic.
book. It's available on Kindle. It's available on paperback. It'll soon be available on hardback as well as an audio book. And it's based on my course on how to make an interactive clone. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. I personally love to read. That's my prefer, even though I spend most of my time making video in the world. But I figured for most of the last 15 years, I have focused on making video courses. I have found that to be the most lucrative for me anyway. It's been easier to reach large audiences that way. So I made this course, Interactive AI Video Clone Creation, the complete course, which is on sale right now. But I wanted to make it accessible to people who want to read books. So I did my first book in about 15 years. So I'm a
Oh,
big fan of always trying to recreate, continuing the creativity journey in someone's life, because that's what makes it exciting to hop out of bed in the morning.
of course it does.
Here's the thing I would ask you to think about, which is sometimes we're all guilty of putting ourselves in boxes and not looking broadly enough. For example, the show we're doing right now, I can go home later today and watch it on my 85-inch TV screen. It is TV. If I choose to watch it on TV, it is TV. There are some people in your country who enjoy watching Piers Morgan on their big TV in their living room, and they're watching him on his YouTube channel. So if the goal is television, you already have the power to be there today. You don't necessarily need that stamp of approval of ITV or BBC or anyone else. Again, I don't want to put cold water on your dream. Continue pursuing ITV, but I am a big believer that this is the most exciting time in the history of humanity to be alive, because there's so few gatekeepers. The number one thing holding people back today is themselves. Now, I'm not talking about the people who are the bottom billion people who live on less than $2 a day and are just trying to get subsistence. But for people who live in advanced economies, the top 3, 4, 5 billion people in the world, the thing holding us back is not the big TV executive who's in charge of network programming. It's not the publishing CEO in New York or London. It's not the radio executive deciding who gets the Saturday evening talk show host. It's ourselves, because gatekeepers have lost power. And if you want to have a show seen by a lot of people, one avenue is to kind of get lucky and have ITV or BBC hire you. Sky TV could hire you. It's possible. But another avenue where you're taking much more proactive control over your life is to just start doing it today, building an audience member one at a time. I just did my first TV show in the late 1980s, and I physically had to drive to every TV station in about an 800-mile range in the state of Florida. I would knock on doors of program managers at TV stations. There was no internet back then.
Yeah, that's right. There wouldn't have been
Not even that much cable. I had to knock on doors.
Yeah.
And I finally was able to talk program managers into carrying my show one station in each market. And you know what? After 2 years, I was probably $100,000 in debt. I wasn't able to get them to pay me. It was just syndication, just a joint venture syndication deal. So I personally was never some big national network TV star or syndicated talk show host as far as making big money. But I hate to sound like I'm bragging or like the ugly American who thinks money's the only thing that matters. I frankly made a lot more money than most network TV reporters or hosts, because I have built an independent base through things like online video courses and YouTube and books and training and consulting and speaking and workshops. I built my own business as opposed to just being an employee. I mean, being an employee at a big TV network, if it lasts for 30 years, great. But these days, you can be hot one moment. I mean, just yesterday, a top reporter analyst at ESPN, the major sports network here in the United States, he was making $1 million a year, toast of the town, and later the day he was fired. We don't want to pay you anymore. It happens every day in the media. And I like, frankly, not being able to be fired. I mean, I have thousands and thousands of customers and some clients every month. Therefore, I'm not dependent on anyone. So I would just toss that out to you as a possibility, because to me, I see the people who have the most fun these days are not working for big TV networks. The people I know at work at big TV networks, they go in every day scared, like, oh, the whole network is going to get shut down. I'm going to get fired. They're 28 years old. They're worried about being replaced by a 21-year-old who will work for $10,000 a year. Everyone is nervous and scared at big TV networks. Whereas, you look at, sorry to give this reference again, if he's not as well known to you, but a well-known American podcaster, Joe Rogan, he's doing his show. He looks really relaxed. If he wants to talk to someone for an hour and a half, he will. If he wants to talk to someone for 4.5 hours, he will. He asks whatever he wants. He dresses the way he wants. He takes what sponsors I mean, at this point, he's been paid hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. He can just decide he doesn't want to come to work for 2 weeks or a month. And he's in charge. And to me, it's not that we all want to have to be Joe Rogan, but I think for those of us who desire to communicate, which I sense you do, who enjoy some aspect of performing in front of a camera, which, if that's the goal, I understand if someone just gives you a talk show host or it falls in your lap, take it. But I think even then, the people who are most successful are still focusing their energy on podcast. Here in the United States, top network TV hosts like Seth Rogen, like Bill Maher, all have podcasts too, because they're all preparing for the day when the network goes under or says, we don't want you anymore. They're building their own independent audience. They're building their own independent media companies. That's what I think the future is. And that's changed even since the course I made that you took on how to be a news anchor. It's changed a lot. I should probably update that.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it was still good because it's still got all the basics that you need to know, because you need to have that knowledge. And even like you say, just reading the news, it's all to do with your body language, the movement. You can't, it was just so beneficial for me to go on that course. And, it just gave me so much confidence. And I just know it's the right path I want to go down. Maybe, if I'm not successful to be an ITV news presenter, if it's way above me, I can be just carry on doing my podcasts worldwide. And this is why I need to speak to you.
I apologize, but I want to caution you. Thinking of it as above you is one way of looking at it. What if you're above it? What if you could actually create a show and talk just about what you want to talk about to help the people you care about the most and talk to the most interesting people in the world that you want to talk to? Wouldn't that be far above having a set 30-minute or hour break where you got to talk about news, weather, and sports and a lot of stuff you don't care about on ITV? Wouldn't that actually be better?
Yes, it would. Yes, 100%.
The other thing about if you create your own independent media company, no one can ever force you to retire. The people who have their own independent base do it till the day they die or whatever. They just want to hang it up. They don't have to worry about some network executive saying, oh, TJ, your hairline doesn't look as good as it used to be, or you're getting a double chin. Let's get a younger, fresher TJ. You don't have to worry about that when it's your own media company and you essentially are your own producer and director and network executive. So again, you're a lot younger than I am, but when I look at most major news networks around the world, they have some people who are older, who are really well known because they've been on the air for 30 years and they have a fan base. But the average presenter, newsreader, they're more than happy to find somebody 25, 22, really good looking, skin glowing without even needing makeup, because there's always someone new like that every single day showing up at TV news networks. And I don't want to have to compete with someone based on their hairline and having smooth
to me,
skin.
I think everyone's beautiful, no matter what age, color. I just think, me personally, everyone is absolutely beautiful. To me, I just look at everyone like that. I don't look at the age, and it's how they are. As long as they've got a good heart and they've got compassion, that's all you need to get by, I think, in this day and age. As long as
But it's a wonderful sentiment, and I like to think I subscribe to that a lot of times too. But let me ask you, when you and I have seen ITV, but I haven't seen it lately. When you look at the people they hire as on-air presenters and hosts and reporters, think of like the 10 most obvious people you've seen in those roles. I'm not saying they're all beautiful looking movie stars, but now think of it when you go to the grocery store or the mall or just the average walking downtown in a regular street, and look at the looks of people there. Are you telling me that the host on ITV really seem to be completely average looking? Because my perception is still to this day is that most TV hosts, reporters, anchors, presenters are substantially better looking than the average person on the street. But I could be wrong. Tell me your perception.
Yes, 100% they are, because they've got to be, haven't they, at the end of the day? You've got to be that person who looks perfect in front of the camera, not camera shy. So when you do look at, an ITV presenter, yes, all TV presenters, I'd say they're all good looking. They're all kind of so confident. And
generally they're better looking than average. There's no doubt about it. So again, that leads me to, why focus your energy there? And I'm not saying you're not better looking than average, but again, neither one of us is 24 years old. And when you have your own show on YouTube, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on other social media platforms, you don't have to worry about some executive saying, TJ's getting a little too wrinkled, let's kick him out on the street. You don't have to worry about that. Because the whole reason a TV network is attractive to people is it has relationships with an audience. It has relationships with advertisers that will allow you to get paid. Mm-hmm. Well, these days, entrepreneurial-minded people can do the very same thing with social media and their own independent companies. Now, I'm not a fan of brand. What is this? The comedian Brand.
Oh, Brand.
Brand.
Oh, Russell Brand, you mean? Is it Russell Brand?
A comedian with long, thick hair, Brand. His name is not Ellis, but it's Brand.
Yeah, Russell Brand.
Russell Brand. Yeah, I'm not a fan of his politics.
Yeah.
But he understands that, he doesn't need the big TV networks and the big newspaper behind him. He's created his own media company. Same with Piers Morgan in your country. And here in the United States, there's countless people who have made more money just running their own independent media companies than when they worked for a TV network. So it's just something I'd ask you. The other thing about it is, you can do a show every day if you want. You can do a 4-hour show every day and get better and better and better. You work for a big TV network. Yeah, maybe they have you on 1 hour a day, which is plenty. But then a new program director comes in. Maybe they keep your salary the same. and you're doing 1 hour on the weekend. So now you're sitting around all the time and maybe doing other things you don't enjoy. Create your own media company, and you can be on people's TVs as much as possible. Again, I can go home today, watch our interview on my TV set if I want to, and it would be really big. It's a large TV. So if the goal is to be on TV, you don't need any executive to give you permission.
This is what family keep doing as well. And blessing, my uncle rang me this morning and he says, I've been watching you on my big TV screen. I said, have you, Uncle Dave? And he says, yes. He says, Dusk Till Dawn Studios, and it's my local recording studio where I am now. They've been kind enough to let me use the studio, for the podcast. And, they're amazing. They're like based in Chadderton in the UK. But it's just like when they do all my songs, everyone, our family are watching like every recording. They'll watch it on the big TV screen. So like you say, you can actually do your own media, can't you, to get yourself out there. And this is what I want to kind of come across as confident as you come across. And I want to, have that audience that you have as well, so the more I learn and the more, I need to learn as well. The more courses, I'll definitely go on more courses that you've done as well.
Well, you look and sound confident to me, so that's great. But it just becomes easier the more you do it. People ask me if I get nervous before doing interviews or being interviewed, whether it's CNN or BBC or talking to folks like you. And the answer is no. It's not because I was born with 1,000 times more confidence in anyone. It's just that I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in front of a camera. I've made thousands of videos. It's really hard to be nervous or uncomfortable with anything you've done 1,000 times. The first time anyone ever drives a car to the grocery store, if they're 15, 16 years old, it can be pretty nerve-wracking. But if you've been driving for 15 years and someone tosses you the keys to the car and says, oh, we're short of milk, can you go get it? It's pretty hard to be nervous driving to the store. Why? Because you've done it 1,000 times. It is exactly the same thing.
It's like riding a bike, isn't it? Once you've learned it, it's just practice makes perfect, isn't it? Where you'd never have thought you would have been shy as a child, because you don't come across shy at all to myself. But like when I've been reading all about you and doing all history on yourself, and I used to be really shy, and you'd never ever have thought you was that shy child. It's definitely not.
I was very shy as a kid. So, you can really take control over your destiny and your personality, I believe, if you actively decide you want to. Elaine, you have a passion for counseling people, helping people during bereavement, other psychological ways of helping people. I would just ask you to think about if you could talk to the 100 most interesting people in the world that have something to do with your passion in life, who would they be? And then why not call them, write them, email them, text them, tweet them, ask them if you could interview them. Worst thing that could happen is they say no, or they're too busy, but some of them will say yes. Some of them will have a new book out. Some of them will just be actively looking for attention. Why not do that? Because if you're again, I don't want to sound like I'm anti-ITV, but if you're an ITV presenter, they may ask you to, interview a football star, and maybe you don't care anything about football. Not really going to be that interesting to you. I know personally, I don't like football, American football, or what we Americans call soccer to the rest of it. Just doesn't interest me at all. I wouldn't be a very good interviewer, someone like that. And maybe you would, but if you could interview people who are already in the space that you're passionate about, why not focus on that?
I've been doing that actually this morning, and I've actually been via LinkedIn. I just love LinkedIn. I just think it's so good. People don't know how to use the platform. Sometimes people will say it's like Facebook, but I'm not on Facebook myself personally. But with LinkedIn, because it's a professional business platform, I've always loved LinkedIn. Sometimes I've come off the platform in the past just so I can spend more time with my children. And, I've kind of deleted my old profile on there, and sometimes I'm thinking I shouldn't have done that. I should have just closed it down, and then I've gone back onto it. But I've connected with so many interesting people, and this morning I've had a few messages to and from people as well who I want to, be on my podcast. But I just wanted you to be the first person, just so I want to make sure I'm coming across okay, I'm coming across, professional. And if there's anything you want to, tell me what I need to do better, how to better myself, I prefer you to tell me that, and I'll learn as I go along.
One thing, I don't know if it's you, but I'm getting a lot of pixelation, and I can't see you clearly. So my only suggestion there is, when you're doing any kind of interview through Zoom or StreamYard or anything like that, now it's clear. Just make sure you have the absolute highest quality internet you can, preferably not Wi-Fi, but a cable that goes right into your computer for the greatest amount of clarity. That will help. And because it's a little fuzzy, I can't tell if you're giving me good eye contact or if you're looking at me on the screen here. I can't tell.
I'm looking at you right on the screen. Yeah.
You don't want to do that. You want to maintain, you want people to feel like you're looking at them. Like right now, I'm looking at you.
More like looking at you.
If I look like this the whole time, I'm actually looking at you. But from your perspective, it looks like I am ignoring you, checking email or Facebook or something. So I'm not going to look like this during the interview. I'm going to look at like this because I want you to feel like I'm looking at you. Plus, I want anyone watching this at home or office or any place else to feel like I'm looking at them. So I do want you to focus more on eye contact with the camera. So a little bit different than if you're in a studio.
Yeah.
If you're in a studio and you've got 3 cameras on and there's a guest sitting right next to you, then you do want to look at the guest, and the director will figure out what camera angle is the best, or it may show both of you. But if it's done something with an in-house studio or internet studio, you really want to look at the camera the vast majority.
Better now that I'm straight ahead at the camera.
Yeah. And it's a little unnatural. The more natural thing is to look at the person I'm talking to, but it doesn't look natural. Great. Right. Well, I really appreciate our time together. Is there anything else you wanted to know from me to share with your own friends, fans, followers, and connections on social media?
Just to say thank you for this podcast, really. And the podcast is it's giving out ideas from both of us as well, isn't it? So it's to kind of get me going to do Lloyd's Worldwide podcasts. And I think everyone's got to start somewhere. And as long as you're confident and focused, you can do anything and you can get your podcast out there. I loved all the AI clones that you showed me, and I loved that you can actually do it in all different languages as well. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and for any of your friends who are interested, again, they can access it without, not only do I not charge them anything to try it out, they don't even have to give an email address. They can just ask my clone questions and text. If they want to talk to my video or audio, then they have to give an email, but there's no charge for the first 8 minutes of conversations and messages. So feel free to try it out. It's tjwalker.ai. Plus, I've got the new book out on how you can build an interactive AI video clone. That's on Amazon. You'll find out more about that on tjwalker.ai. And if you're thinking about building your own, you may want to check out my course on how to create. It's a video course on how to create your own interactive AI video clone. Elaine, thanks so much. Hope to see you again soon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.